Okay, so today is a little different. I'm gonna be talking about this Matchbox model kit of the Panzer II Aus F German tank, which was used in North Africa and in the Eastern Front extensively. This kit is a two-color kit, as can be seen here. By that they mean it the 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 plastic pieces come in two colors to create this effect. And it was manufactured in 1976. Now, I vividly recall these models back in the late 70s when I was, 11 or 12, and I used to build these models without painting, just gluing and putting them together. And the main attraction was that they did come with a diorama, which was pretty nifty. Really made the models come alive. So I saw this on eBay recently, and I purchased it, and I went ahead and built it and painted it. I've never painted these models before, and haven't actually done any modeling for a long time. I'm no expert by any means whatsoever, and so I decided to do it anyway, and I think turned out fairly decent. So let me show you what the end result was, and here it is. So this is a 1:76 scale model, and putting it together is a little finicky because the parts are really small, but it turned out pretty okay. My main beef with that model was that the decals were much larger than they should be for the scale, and so they covered more area than they should have. Also, because this kit is about 44 years old, the decals were very brittle and they were really hard to work with, but I managed to pull it off regardless. So I went with the muddy effect essentially found in Eastern Europe during the muddy season, and I used for that, and you can see it here, it's mud everywhere, which is really realistic actually. And for that I used this Vallejo thick mud acrylic paint, which is really pretty much thick mud. It works really well, and it dries fast and has a really nice effect. I painted the building structure using the aged concrete paint by Model Master, right there. And then I used something I've never used before, which is pigments, and I used a couple of pigments. I used the what do you call it? The natural iron oxide pigment from Vallejo, which is essentially a fine powder, and I dry brushed it on the building and on the crater over here to create that burnt, carbonized effect, and it worked really nice. And then I used also this other pigment called burnt umber on the tank primarily, again to give it that bit of dusty feel. I also used the black pigment on the grills of the tank to give them a little bit of carbonization effect. For the main tank, I used German Gray by Vallejo. Again, the reason I like the Vallejo, I've never used them before, is because they come with a dropper basically, or as a dropper, as you can see here. And this is really handy because for a model of this scale, you really need a really tiny amount of paint. I mean, a few drops at best will go a long way. So that's really economical in that sense, because paint is super expensive. The disadvantage of working with a model of the scale is, again, the tiny pieces, which you have to be very careful in placing, etc. And the painting can be fastidious for small details, like these German soldiers, for example. But yeah, I mean, overall, the whole thing turned out pretty nice, as can be seen. So I'm very pleased with it for a first time effort, I should say. So yeah, I'm encouraged to actually get some more of the models available currently on eBay. They don't make them anymore, and I think they were bought by Revell, if I'm not mistaken, and these kits have been available under the Revell name as well. But Matchbox is close and dear to my heart, so I'll stick with that. So I'll try some other different tanks and maybe even a couple of airplanes, and see how that goes. But yeah, that's basically my little show and tell project. Thanks.